What's going on, guys, in the works? And it must be retro week here on my channel because we just got done doing an infrared night vision scope video, and here we are doing the Scar H Silence, one of my really favorites from when Battlefield 3 first came out. This was absolutely my favorite engineer weapon. And I just got done watching here a few days ago an engineer 100 star montage, which I'm going to link in the description. If you haven't seen it, go check it out at the end of this video, because I do have a lot to say. But at the end of the video, go check it out. It'll be in the description. It was actually really entertaining, and it kind of got me thinking again. I was like, man, I really need to get back to some of the weapons I used to love, you know, back to my engineer roots, because in the beta of Battlefield 3 and when Battlefield 3 first came out, I was an engineer. That was my class. That was my go-to. I loved playing engineer, and oh man, this could have been such a good clip if it wasn't for Spawn invincibility. Unfortunately, that guy took all the bullets while he was still invincible, and my G17C could not finish him off. But you know, that's Spawn invincibility for you. You know, you love it when you benefit from it, but when you're on the other side of it, it's kind of frustrating. But anyways, back to the topic. You know, I was trying to get back into some of the weapons I used to love, and the Scar was one of the weapons that I just absolutely adored. You know, the Scar H with silencer. I ran Scar H with silencer. Sometimes I used thermal. You know, all those overpowered attachments back when they didn't really have a whole lot of negative effect on the weapon. So I always ran those. I always was getting those monster kills from across the map, sniping people with it. But then they nerfed my Scar H to oblivion. You know, they gave it a little bit more recoil. They made it so that it wasn't as powerful as it once was. They kind of brought it back down into what I guess you would consider more balanced. So unfortunately, the Scar H is not as good as it once was. However, I still have a blast with it. Being a 30 damage weapon, it can take out a lot of people very quickly. In most scenarios, you're looking at a 4-bullet kill, and it only drops off to a 5-bullet kill. You know, it drops down to 20, so you're always looking at a 5-bullet kill, assuming that you're getting body shots. But the thing I like about it is it has the potential for those 3 shots if you get a headshot in there somewhere. So it is a very good weapon, and it's a weapon that I've kind of rediscovered here as of late. Now, typically I don't like to run suppressor, but two of the setups that I found worked really well with this is flash suppressor with holographic, silencer with foregrip or without foregrip. It's really up to you. If you're going to be in a lot of close quarter scenarios, I find that foregrip actually makes this thing have absolutely no side-to-side recoil. The only recoil you really have to compensate for is that upward recoil, but the suppressor kind of tames that. So with foregrip and suppressor, you do have a very controllable weapon. However, you do give up some of that aim fire accuracy. That's one of the things that you really have to consider. Now, this gameplay in particular, you notice that there's a lot of freaking tickets, and I've cut out portions of it just because it was such a long match. It's one of those matches you join and you get stuck on defense and you're like, wait a second, there's 200 tickets. We cannot win this. And it's like our team was pretty much relegated to be like, okay, well, I don't think we're going to win this. But more times than not, I find that if you can get to this point without getting steamrolled completely, sometimes you can usually hold them off a little bit, especially back in here, because it's a lot easier to kind of fortify your defenses. And we make a pretty good run here. I won't spoil it. You can keep an eye out to see the final result. But the Scar H definitely goes to work. And you know, I look at this weapon and I'm like, okay, it's got 20 rounds in the magazine, shoots 600 rounds per minute, does 30 damage, drops off to a 20 damage weapon. So this is kind of like a mini G3, I guess. I mean, it's the engineer variant, I guess, of the G3, and I think that's a really good comparison, because this weapon is a lot of fun if you can learn to tame that really high upward recoil and kind of compensate for the fact that you only have 20 rounds in your magazine. Now, in my FAMAS video, a lot of people notice that when I reload, I tend to kind of fall back a little bit and take cover, and that's true. I do that, considering that you have to be smart. If you get caught outside of a reload with these low capacity rifles, you're really screwed, because you're not really going to stand much chance when you're going out there reloading and pushing forward. But the one thing about the Scar that kind of differentiates it from the FAMAS, because you know, the FAMAS shoots so quickly that it makes it almost impossible. You know, it's got such a slow reload that you're always reloading, whereas with the Scar, you can be a little bit more precise in your shots. And throughout this video, you saw me get, you know, 3-4 people at times, and it's not that hard with one magazine, because it does do so much damage. And I love the fact that it does 30 damage up close. I know the suppressor does hurt that a little bit. It does take a little bit off the the overall drop off, so you're looking at getting to your minimum much quicker if you use the suppressor, but it does tame some of that recoil. It makes it much more manageable, and in the same respect it makes you that stealthy engineer. And I've always liked having the silencer on my engineer class. I find that if I was going to pick a class that I think benefits most from the suppressor, it would be the engineer, because oftentimes I sneak behind enemy lines with it to destroy vehicles, you know, shoot tanks in the butt, and just flank behind people in general. And the suppressor comes in super duper handy on a lot of the engineer weapons. You know I love the ACWR with the suppressor. That's probably one of my favorites, but I think I've rediscovered just how awesome the SCAR can be, and it's definitely a people killer, as I like to call it, because you can take out gobs and gobs of people up close. And a lot of people are intimidated by the the 600 rounds per minute. They look at it like, oh man, that's so slow. But really, guys, if you sit down and you practice with the SCAR H, you'll kind of tame it. You'll learn how to really harness the power that this particular rifle does possess. And I mean, if you look at it, the 20 damage at long range, that's pretty good. You're out shooting a lot of assault rifles, so if you can get bullets on target, you can be successful against high fire rate assault rifles at range. I mean, it's really in the user. Once you kind of figure out that recoil pattern, you learn how to compensate for it, the SCAR H can be one of your biggest allies. And I'm glad I watched that montage, because it got me to thinking about my old buddy, the SCAR H. And I went back and I watched a couple of my old videos where I had the INRV with the silenced SCAR H, just sniping people across the map with it. And I was thinking about the good old days and how strong it used to be back when it was a 3-bullet kill. But alas, it's only a 4-bullet kill now because it's a 30 damage weapon, but it's still, it's still a lot of fun. It can still kill a lot of people. It may not be as good as it once was, but those were the good old days back when Battlefield 3 was still new. So try out the SCAR H. I think you will be pleasantly surprised in the results, and it's always been one of my favorite engineer weapons, and I feel bad for sitting it down for a while, but it's back in my arsenal. But if you missed any of my past videos, now's a chance to catch up, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.